you made this?
Feeling good, got some weed up in my wood, chasing dreams just like I should, letting go because I could. Used to have my...
All right, welcome back to another episode of JK Philly. Today we got the basement with the Miami Heat. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. Can't complain. So just giving the basis, like we gave a little rundown before, just going to ask you a couple questions about how your season went. We like to get the in-depth reviews of, people that are reporters, fans, everything that encompasses their team. So we just want to start with that. Obviously, with the Miami Heat, we are recording this, what's today, May 6th. So we're into the second round now, so we obviously have the news of the Heat getting swept in the first round against the Cavaliers. So just giving a basis from where we start, I kind of want to start at the beginning of the season, but at the same time, I want to talk about the big media point because I feel like that's, the real thing that was kind of curious to see how people were feeling about it because we got a bunch of different opinions from a bunch of different fans that probably weren't even Heat fans. So just from your guys' position, the Jimmy Butler fiasco, for however long that went on, did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you want to see him go? Did you, what were your true feelings about it before he finally ended up getting traded?
So I think the answer that you get to this question is going to be based on the type of Heat fan that you are talking to in the moment. There are some people who are always looking to compete every year because that's kind of what Miami feeds the fan base. Like, we're trying to compete for titles every year. And then there's a portion of the fan base, in which I fall in, that knows when the organization is full of. Like, they had Jimmy Butler here for 5 years, and not once did it seem like they were willing to make the move to kind of like push this team over the top, get them another playmaker or something like that, to actually be competing. So I was pro trading Jimmy Butler after we made it to the finals in 2023. So at the beginning of the season, if you remember, you guys are 76ers fans, right? Yeah. So you guys were in the market for a small forward, and I feel like that was a trade that we could have made without essentially taking anything back but picks. As we saw, New York was in the market for a small forward, and I think if we had been proactive in terms of trying to trade Jimmy Butler, then maybe Miami would have made off better with it. But I think they were reactive. They went through the saga of back and forth with him. They tried to have a swinging contest with Jimmy Butler, bro, and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. He eventually got his fucking money. He got out of there. He's in a situation where he's now winning, and now my team looks like dog because we don't have a go-to guy anymore, and we traded him for Andrew Wiggins, and then and he's not even the best piece that we got out of this deal. Mm-hmm. It feels like Davion Mitchell has been the most impactful thing to come back from a Jimmy Butler trade. So in my mind, that's a failure, bro. And then I don't know, bro. It's just people now want to kind of blame Jimmy Butler for this. But from Jimmy Butler's perspective, it's if you're not going to build a team that I can compete with, then pay me. And if you're not going to fucking pay me, then trade me. And I think that's kind of where it ended up. It got ugly. It was frustrating just to kind of watch that tug of war for the beginning of the season. And then by the time they traded, the return was underwhelming. And it just every day after the trade, they're just kind of waiting for the season to end. And it never would. It just kept going on and on and on. And thankfully, we got to Cleveland, and Cleveland put an end to that, put a bullet in our head.
Yeah, that Jimmy fiasco went on longer than I thought it would. It just, like you said, it kept going back and forth. It got to a point where there was so many reports coming out, I didn't even know what to believe anymore. There were reports saying he wanted to get out, and then there were other reports saying that then he went back to the management and said oh no, maybe I will stay, but they said at that point they were over it and just wanted him out of there. So it got to a point I didn't even know what we were anymore.
Yeah, so it kind of felt it was a tug of war, a power struggle to see who was going to get their way. I think Miami came into this initially thinking that they would get a Jimmy Butler season where he was motivated to get a contract, so he would try. And Jimmy wanted his money, and we weren't going to pay him, so he wanted to leave. And they tried to show Jimmy who's boss with that. We're not trading Jimmy Butler. And then they just let it drag on. I think there was a deal in place with Memphis that they were ready to execute on, but because the blood had got so bad between them two, Jimmy stepped on that trade by saying he wouldn't extend with Memphis. And then he started doing that. Any potential deal that Miami kind of thought they had worked out or whatever, you get a report saying Jimmy's not willing to extend with anybody or anything. And that was Jimmy Butler exercising his leverage. Like, and I think Miami just eventually had to cave, bro. Like, he wanted to get to Phoenix because he knew Phoenix would pay him. And then he kind of like messed around with Golden State until he realized Golden State would pay him. Mm-hmm. And once they agreed to that extension, then he was willing to go to Golden State. But like, it was just kind of like that back and forth of them trying to one up each other throughout the whole thing that got irritating the fans. Like, it started to feel like both the organization and Jimmy Butler himself had forgotten about the fan base in the midst of their feud, and they didn't want to do what was best for us. They wanted to do what was best in their own interest and win that kind of feud, and nobody won because of it.
Right. I feel like it was definitely a showing of like, you don't usually see that side of the business, and the fans don't ever really get that insight of it. And now you finally get to see it of just like, we don't give a about y'all. We care about who's making this money, who's going to give the money out, how can we make ways. You saw with Jaren Jackson Jr. how they're like sitting him on the sideline, like, we're not trying to pay you this money and give you a max contract coming in next year, but a regular fan doesn't know nothing about that. So seeing this Jimmy stuff popping all up, it was a crazy situation for, you know, fans like us that have a little bit more of an understanding of what the league actually is and what people are actually looking like. So it's definitely more frustrating.
It's crazy too, because Miami is notoriously like a pretty buttoned up organization, mm-hmm. Or people would think like you would think that like with the culture and the class that people like to talk about this organization, you would think they would be above some of the things that ended up happening with this, like them leaking kind of like news, like going on Jimmy Butler bashing campaigns and like that. Like, yeah. I thought my organization was above something like that, and then that just kind of pulled back some of the layers on it. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here, bro? Like, you're trying to sell me culture, you're trying to sell me, you know, professionalism, and you're acting on personal grudges, and that kind of like it soured a lot of fans on the front office, and maybe not the organization itself, but just on the process of the way that they're going about doing their business. It's kind of put a microscope on it, and now fans are looking more so forward to like seeing how they move from now on with players who want money and seeing how they're going about team building. Like, now that I don't think they'll get as much leeway as they got before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely want to hit on that point as we move on, as you were mentioning beforehand, of just they're not doing anything with Jimmy Butler. They're not trying to get him something to really build off of. You like you're rocking with Bam, and at the time just like a young and upcoming Tyler Hero, and then a bunch of role players basically for you guys. Now that we've really seen what I don't know if you can really put a dot on this was Tyler Hero's season to prove it, but moving into this next question, do you really think Tyler Hero is going to be like a satisfying number one option for you guys for the future as you continue to move on with the seasons?
Good brother, I am known as the greatest Tyler Hero hater in Heat Twitter history. I've wanted Tyler Hero traded since his second season on this team. Wow. Since we had potential to like trade him for James Harden when he was disgruntled in Houston. Uh-huh. I wanted to trade Tyler Hero. No, I do not think Tyler Hero is the number one option. No, I do not think Tyler Hero is the number two option. Yes, I think that this All-Star was fake. I believe Tyler Hero is a six-man. He's a defensive liability and a hot and cold scorer. What is that archetype in the NBA? It's Jordan Clarkson. Like, that's what it is. He's white Jordan Clarkson with Cuban coffee access. Like, that's who Tyler Hero is, bro. Like, he's not. I think like this All-Star season, it's his best season that he's ever had. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's sustainable. I think it's the byproduct of kind of like him being a looter in a riot, a lot of confusion around the organization, nobody really trying to pick up the pieces. So he found himself an opportunity to go out there and shoot the ball as much as he wanted,
right?
And you know, kind of like capitalize off of the dysfunction. But I don't think Miami has a number one option on this team. I think Tyler Hero, I've called him all the time. I call him a high-level role player. And some people find that to be insulting because they think he's a star player, and now that he's made an all-star, they've kind of doubled down on that thinking. But the playoffs tell, in my opinion, and I think they showed you. Like, Cleveland showed you exactly what Tyler Hero is, bro. He's a target, and he's a streaky scorer. He scored 4 points in an elimination game. That will never be a number one option on my team. So no, I don't think Tyler Hero's the number one option. I don't believe that Miami should invest any more time in that line of thinking of making him our top offensive option. I think they should invest in trying to trade him.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I think I think his usage rate this year fooled a lot of people. He just, like 4 points in an elimination game. You can't have that. You can't have a dude who your number one option cannot be somebody who teams are attacking every single possession on defense unless you give me like 37 a game. Like I need something. I need you to be historically offensively great if you're going to be that much of a liability on defense. And I think a lot of people just pull up that box score. They say, 23 points a game. Oh, he must be a really good player. But you see the true side of Tyler Hero a lot.
No, for sure. The only player who's able to get away with that, in my opinion, is Luka Doncic. Like,
exactly.
like you can't be a complete cone on defense and then give me 23 points a game and then I invest $50 million in that. I will not.
Right.
I will not.
No. Yeah, I definitely view him as that. I did not watch that series against the Cavs. I figured it was going to be pretty quick. But just, like you were saying, all the stuff going around with the Heat organization, he definitely found his moment to give him a little bit of some media points of, hey, look at him. He's doing something, and then you see how that goes. And I didn't want to use the one series against him to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but you got years and years of history now of playing alongside Jimmy Butler now.
Yeah. So with Tyler, like I'm glad that K Thompson mentioned his usage rate, because Tyler's had the highest usage rate on the Miami Heat for like every year since his like third year in the league. Since that sixth man of the year, he's had the highest usage rate on the team. And when you talk about kind of like how that translates into like he's an inefficient kind of like high volume scorer. And that's not the commodity that people think it is anymore. Like, and a lot of people like to use like, oh, well, he's a 20 point per game scorer. That's hard to find. No, it's not. No, it's really not at this point. Like, I think it was like 50 people who was averaging like 20 points a game or some shit like that. Like, for real, like it's not really like that. It's not that like rare these days. So like for people to use like archaic means of like metrics, you're absolutely correct. People look at his stat sheet and they see points per game and that's all they measured up. But it's just like he will score 23 points and give up 34 points.
Right.
So like, what's the net gain? What's the balance there?
Yeah, 100%. And as we move on from Tyler Hero, because I understand your point of view, and that's as Philly fans going up against y'all in important games in the playoffs and stuff like that, we do not give a about Tyler Hero either.
Primarily because he don't be there. Like
that's true as well.
Like we talk about his last two playoff series that both one ended in 4 games, the other one ended in 5. He wasn't impressive in either when Jimmy Butler wasn't there.
Right.
And the times that we made actual runs, like in 2020, he was like young and we made a run to the finals. And then in 2023, he wasn't there. And then when we made the run to the Eastern Conference Finals, he was when he was there, and then he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like we were winning with guys like Max Strus, who's playing tonight. You know what I mean? Like that was our starting shooting guard when we was making those runs, not Tyler Hero. And I think people like to give him credit for like being a part of those runs, when in actuality he was not, bro. He most of the time he just wasn't there because he was injured.
No. Yeah, no, 100%. But like I said, moving on from Tyler Hero, going into this plan, I heard you mention of like obviously you want to get rid of him, you want to trade him. Kind of comes into a question that Kev brought up with the situation of Giannis and his situation like that. Now looking to trade people, don't think that's anywhere close to getting a Giannis coming to Miami. But what are you guys looking at as a team? I'm just bringing up Giannis for the talking point of it, but just as a team getting rid of Tyler Hero, what do you think are some viable assets or stuff that you're really looking at right now to be a part of the team for next season?
So for me, like I don't think next season is going to be an enjoyable one for Miami either. I think trading Tyler Hero isn't more so to get better; it's more so to reset. It's trying to accumulate assets in order to prepare yourself to be in position to kind of get something better. Now you got people like Zion Williamson and John Morant who might be on the market for cheap because their teams don't want to re-sign them or something like that. And maybe a Tyler Hero may be alluring for a team that's in a reset mode. They want a young player that's established or whatever. Maybe he might be alluring there, and if we can pull off one of those two guys, then that would be ideal. But I think the general idea for me is Tyler Hero is up for an extension, and if we don't give him that extension by the end of October, then he said it himself in his exit interview that it's going to be more expensive. Now, I have no idea what number Tyler Hero has in mind, but I can guarantee you it's too much for my blood. And so I'd rather just trade him now before we get into a situation where we're like even assuming that we're about to pay him $40+ million a year, bro. Let somebody else do that and try and reset your team so that you can kind of quickly reset around Bam with a war chest of draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best option. I think that's a much more. It always sucks having to put plans together that involve your team not being very good for the next couple years, but it's better than your ceiling being a play-in team, making it into the playoffs, and getting a 4-game sweep on your head every single year. That's just infuriating.
Yeah, that's kind of like the path Miami chose, like because they're not really a young team, because of players like Andrew Wiggins and Kevin Love and Slow Mo, who's still on the roster, and Bam is 27, but he's not really like a young player.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have like any guys in the middle of that. Like after that, you have Khalil Ware, who's a rookie, Pelle Larson, who's a rookie. You have a bunch of young guys and a bunch of guys who are really trying to compete now. And so when you're trying to like mix those two timelines together, it don't really work, bro. Like you can't develop and compete at the same time. Especially when your top end talent isn't like high end, top of the league type talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at your all roster a couple hours ago, and that's exactly what it is. It'd say age 21, 34, 21, 37. Like it was just.
It's a weird hodgepodge of people that's out there playing basketball, bro. We started Alec Burks in the playoffs, which is wild.
Yeah, so did we.
yeah, right.
So, years ago.
No, well, that's majority of the questions I got. I know, Kev, if you have any other topics that you wanted to go over before we wrap this up.
Yeah. Now, my one question, you touched on it a little bit. Like with your guys' cap space and anything, do you think there's any chance of the Giannis sweepstakes with Miami? Because he said earlier he wants to go to a big major city. So you guys think there's any chance of landing Giannis?
Yeah, I think so. Like we have, like if they ask for Bam, personally, I'm willing to trade Bam for Giannis. But I think the idea would be to pair Giannis and Bam together to kind of create like that nightmarish defensive front court that some teams would look for. We have a way to get to Giannis's number without including Bam. So that can be some combination of like Tyler, Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. If they want Khalil Ware, then we'll trade them Khalil Ware. And then on draft night, we'll have 3 tradable first. So like that'll be what we offer. But then again, like what happens if OKC comes calling?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we got a solid offer that we could give somebody that's without Bam, but like they can come and they can offer Chet and 1,700 first round picks,
Right.
and like and they can instantly like, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be the currency that's most valuable to Milwaukee. They've kind of depleted their war chest with the Dame trade or whatever, so they want to look for draft picks, especially like draft picks that might be worth something. And so I think OKC has a little bit more to deal with in that regard. It's another team out there that's like eluding me right now, but it's another team with a ton of draft picks. That
Spurs.
The Spurs have it, but I don't think that was one of the cities that he was naming. He was saying he wanted to be in a big city. So like the 2 New Yorks, Brooklyn is another one.
Brooklyn,
yeah. But so the 2 New York teams, Miami, and the 2 LA teams were the ones that was like hinted at. I don't think I don't know how the Lakers would get there. The Clippers, maybe not. But I do think that those 2 New York teams might have interest, especially the Knicks. Like the Knicks might be of some interest to him.
Yeah, that'd be a crazy team.
Yeah,
I don't need that in my life.
Me neither. Yeah.
No. Well, yeah, like I said, that was really wrapping up on the last bit of questions we have. We definitely appreciate your time coming on, giving your true and passionate thoughts about your team. If you want to, go over anything that you got going on, shout out your channel, shout out anything that you guys got going on for the season.
Sure. So if folks want to find us, you can find us on the Basement Sports Network on YouTube. On Twitter, it's at Basement Sports N. We do playbacks live during Heat games. So next season, we'll be cranking those back up. We did a couple of hate watches for the postseason, and we might pull up on some of them, but those are random. But yeah, man, you're looking at Heat content where all we do is yell and cuss out the team and try and trade everybody. Then we're your guys, bro. Like, we not with that sunshine pumper shit. We don't tell you all the good things about our franchise. We just talk about what we see. And so, like, I appreciate the opportunity to get on here with you guys. It's fun.
For sure. Definitely appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys follow all the socials. That will be linked down below, and we'll see you guys for the next episode. Thank you guys for watching another episode of JK Philly. Make sure you stay tuned by subscribing to the channel.